Shalom, everyone, and welcome back. A good Erev Shabbos to everyone. This week's Torah portion begins the book of Shmos, the book of Exodus, which recounts, of course, the enslavement of the Jewish people in Egypt and their subsequent redemption from Egypt, going out of Egypt. And the Parsha begins by saying a new king arose over Egypt who did not know of Joseph. The question is, how is this possible? Joseph was the second in command in Egypt. Everybody knew Joseph. Joseph saved their hides during the famine time. And he was the second to the king. Everyone knew who he was. He was famous. He was like the vice president. How is it possible? So Rashi comes along and says, a very famous Rashi, regarding the opinions of Rav and Shmuel, Chad Amar Chadish Mamish. One of them said one opinion said he was actually a new king. The old king died and the new king came about. Chad Amar Shizchadshu Geserasav. Others say that it was the same king, but he had new decrees. He made new decrees under Egypt. And what exactly did this king say? This king said to his people, behold, the people, the children of Israel, are more numerous and stronger than we. Come, let us outsmart it, lest it become numerous. There'll be a lot of them. And it'll be that if a war will come about, the Jewish people will join our enemies and wage war against us and we'll end up going up from the land. They'll take over. How is such a thing possible that such a king who was so close to Joseph and knew the history of the Jewish people and how the Jewish people were good people and they helped Egypt and they were always there for Egypt and they were righteous people, to say such a thing like that? You wonder, what is it about leadership sometimes? Sometimes we find that leaders are good to the Jews, and sometimes they're bad to the Jews. And sometimes it could be a different person. One year, this czar of Russia was good, the czar was bad. Usually they were bad, but occasionally you had a decent czar, I'm sure. Or this king was good, and that king was bad. How is it possible that these types of things can happen? So in Pirkei Avos, in Ethics of the Fathers, it says, be wary of those in power, for they befriend a person only for their own benefits. Because they seem to be friends when it's for their benefit, to their advantage, but they do not stand by a man in his hour of need. So be careful when it comes to people in power, people who are in positions of leadership. This last week, we saw, of course, a terrible, terrible thing happen at the Capitol in Washington, D.C., where a large group, a mob, took over the Capitol, occupied it in ways that we hadn't seen in many, many years. And they broke windows and they occupied they took pieces of art they were attempting to steal from the Capitol. It was an assault on our democracy. And some people blame the president and other people don't blame the president. And the leaders in Congress are now talking about dethroning the president and all kinds of things. And where do we Jewish people stand for all this? What should our opinion be in all of this? As the leadership, whether they're Democrats or the Republicans, are they our friends? Are they our enemies? And some Jews, of course, stand by one group, the one party, and other Jews stand by other parties. And many of them, they swear by it, and they support them, and they give them money and all kinds of things. Should we take such strong stands? And what happens when we do take those stands and we are betrayed? And it turns out that the leadership that we thought was our friends really turn on us or turn on Israel. And it happens all the time that Jewish people who supported particular candidates find out later that these candidates betrayed their trust and ended up not being in favor of those values and those loyalties that are so dear to us. And it can be a very great disappointment when we are in a situation like that. It's a hard situation to be in. And what should be our response to something like that? First of all, we should know that there's a basic rule of dinah de malchusa dinah. The law of the land is the law. We are a nation of law, of courts, and we must reassure our people that the laws are being followed. That is the first and foremost thing. We are a nation of just laws. They're not unjust, they are just laws, and we should stand by them. And we should go about what the laws are telling us to do. But at the same time, we shouldn't put all of our apples into one barrel because we never know what could be tomorrow. We never know what can happen tomorrow. The Jews in Iran know that very well. At one time, the government was very pro Israel. El Al even flew into Tehran at one time. And right away after that, a new regime came into power, which was not so friendly to Israel or, in many cases, to the Jewish people. So we never know. So we should be cautious and we should be careful. When our leadership does good for us, we should be appreciative. We should thank them very much, and we should support those efforts. When they are not being helpful to Israel or the Jewish people, they should be held accountable for that as well. And we shouldn't think, well, I supported that candidate and now they're betraying my support. No, don't expect anything. Don't expect anything at all. There are many people who support both candidates, each candidate, all candidates from both parties, and perhaps that's the best solution of all. But needless to say, we should stand by our leaders when they are acting properly and when they are acting justly, and we should not stand by them when they are not. And this is a very difficult time for us. It's a time that we're coming into a new transition of power, a new president and a new vice president and a new Congress in many respects. And we hope and pray that God should give them the wisdom and the strength to do the right thing and to continue to do the right thing. And we Jewish people should hope and pray that they do the right thing. And we will support them as long as they do that. When they do not do the right thing, we will not support them. That should be our lesson for the coming administration in the next few weeks as we witness this transition of power. And God should hope that it should be a time of peace, a time of love, and a time that people finally come back together again. Shalom and have a good Shabbos. I'd like to remind everyone that we are now in a Facebook campaign, and very soon we'll be on a GoFundMe campaign to help pay for our solar panels, which have been very kind to us. They never gave us any problems. And the solar panels have reduced our synagogue electricity bill radically, literally cutting it in half, which has been very, very good for our bottom line. But we need to pay for the solar panels. We'd like to get that debt out of the way. So we urge you to contribute either on Facebook or in our GoFundMe account, which will be up in the next few days or in the middle of next week, to help us. Our goal is to raise $144,000, which in many campaigns is not that much, but for us, it would really take care of settling this debt. We hope you'll join us. You can do it on Facebook, or you'll be able to do it very soon on GoFundMe. Shalom, and have a good Shabbos.